Hey, what's your problem? You have business problems? We have business solutions.
Yes.
Well, maybe.
True.
Life is a fight.
It is.
In business, every day is a fight.
Yep.
So, hey, what's your problem?
Oh, man, that is the eternal question, isn't it? It's actually a salutation in the Northeast. What's your problem? I believe it's second only to, what are you looking at? Thank you, J.D. Wells, John David Wells, for the big voice guy for the intro. Check him out at the Wells Report on Facebook. The What's Your Problem podcast is a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals. And that one thing, because every time you put your head down at night when you're an entrepreneur or a business professional, it's always something that might be nudging you. And we typically tell the business owner's stories and go into what their problem is at some point. And this is a video and audio podcast. Check us out at whatsyourproblempodcast.com. The big, hairy, audacious goal for 2023-2024 is 10,000 average downloads per episode on an annualized basis. So if it can help us out, if you like what we're doing, share it out. Tell a friend. Recommend somebody to be on the podcast. If they're from Middle Tennessee and they can get here in person, hey, we'll talk. I am your host, Jim McCarthy, with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com. And today, a long-time friend and client of mine from back in my VidSig days, Ms. Sarah Moore. How you doing, buddy?
A long time ago.
It's been a while.
A few videos in your house.
Videos. That's right, in the front room.
Yeah. It works. They were great.
Thank you.
They were, yeah.
Told your story.
And I like simplicity because I don't really, I mean, I won't say I don't like being on camera.
Right.
I don't like the process leading up to it. I have no problem talking. It's all like,
what am I going to talk about?
No, the girly stuff.
Right.
Like, how am I going to look? Because when it's out and it's done, you're like, well, I should have wore a different shirt. Like chick stuff, you know.
Yeah, apparently looking at me by, you know, my collars are all like open. I should probably button this button right here.
Well, everything's out forever, right? You know, it's really once it's...
But these shirts I buy, my wife told me to button up the collars, and they still like spread her out. But so I got to button the top button. I look like
well,
I'm choking.
Camera ads.
I know.
You know, we all heard it. It is what it is.
For me, it's just that's just how fat I am. So
I'm just here. You know, tomorrow I might look different. Who knows? So
there we go. One thing that we do kick off the podcast with is the dad joke challenge. Even though you're mom, I'm a dad.
But I have a dad that gives a lot of dad jokes. He's got a couple classics that have carried through.
They're great.
My whole life.
They're a lot of fun. The Dad Joke Challenge is brought to you by Trade Bank of Nashville. You hear me talk about Ed Fox all the time. All the information for Trade Bank of Nashville is in the description. But if you have a business that is service or product based and you've got some languishing products on the shelves or things might have slowed down, it's an opportunity for you to tap into another network where your cash goes a little bit farther. Sometimes it's smarter to barter, and Trade Bank is there for you. So check that out. All the details are in the description. And Ed also does our jokes because he's a big dad joke aficionado. He's even got some books on Amazon called Grown-tastic Dad Jokes until I woke up early today. So we'll get started with joke number one. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right.
I'm not a fan of nude beaches. I guess you could say I'm clothes-minded.
I got that.
That was a little stretch.
I laughed because you laughed.
Well, I've been on a nude beach, so that's where my head went.
Have you?
Know? Yes.
Which one?
In San Diego. It's called Black's Beach. It was the first one and only one I've been on. I mean, I wouldn't be against going again, but it's really weird when it's your first time.
Is it?
Yeah, well, you think everybody's going to be beautiful, and you're like, oh my God. Nobody cares when you're out there naked. Like, right. And most were overweight, older white men just walking down the, you know.
Yeah.
But some families.
The most unattractive thing ever.
Right, but again, nobody cares. It's kind of like, okay, we're just out here in the nature and just go in the ocean naked and whatever. But then every once in a while there'd be like a family that walked by, and I'm like, I don't know that I would take my young kids out.
Is the whole family naked too?
No, they're clothed because you don't have to be naked to be on it. And it wasn't very inhabited, you know. It was like a few people out there, and you know, because it was a time of the day. And it's not an area that's like touristy.
Right.
You had to kind of hike down some really awesome, you know, rocks.
You got to work to get there.
Yeah. Anyways, with your clothes on then, though.
Did it have the signs out that say you may encounter nude bathers, that kind of thing?
No.
Really?
A local that's a friend of mine that surfs out there all the time. He he told us about it and led us down there, and then we did our thing. He went off and did his thing because he's a real estate agent now that's able to just take time out in the middle of the day, go surf, go nude swim, then get back into. Yeah, no, he does. He lives the greatest life.
I would imagine it's liberating to do that.
Oh yeah, but it was weird because then when I had to pee, trying to pee in the ocean was hard. I don't know why. It was like,
hey, you do it in your bathing suit for crying out loud, right?
I don't. I guess I guess I've peed in the ocean in a bathing suit.
I do. Yeah, it's going to be, the fish do it. So
yeah.
But okay, so we'll do the second joke here. Here we go.
Do not accept a friend request from Hormel Foods. It could be spam.
Dude, that's right up your alley right there with what you do. You know exactly what spam is.
Yeah, but did he say Hormel?
Hormel.
Okay, Hormel. Yeah. At first I thought he said Homel, and I'm like, but I'm seeing the label in the gross spam container, so.
Courtney and I have only had spam once.
I've never had it.
Really? Yeah, it's not bad for breakfast, once in a while.
I don't know. The smell would probably.
You'd probably really need your services for sure after doing anything with spam. So
a lot of food requires.
Yeah.
Services.
Oh, totally. All right, here we go. Joke number 3.
I was at the grocery store the other day. It's kind of weird. The cashiers around there are always checking me out.
I could see
that was good. That was right. That was probably the top of all 3.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I can get that.
You have to listen to it again to make sure you get it.
It hits you quick.
Yeah.
There we go.
I like those kind.
You should never tell anyone what you can and can't do. Take Beethoven, for example. They told him he couldn't be a musician because he was deaf. But he didn't listen.
That's a good one.
That was pretty good. And the final one, I promise. Here we go.
If you see a robbery at an Apple store, does that make you an eyewitness?
Because of the I brand. That's not bad.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah. There you
Totally
go.
Dad
the dad joke challenge.
You
Not
gotta
much of a
appreciate
challenge.
him. You gotta appreciate him.
You do. With Ed Fox, and the Aussie accent really hammers it home.
Yeah, and the fact that if you had a dad like that, that's a cool memory. So
that's right. Well, there you go. The Dad Joke Challenge, once again, brought to you by Trade Bank of Nashville. All the details are in the description if you're looking into an alternative way, an alternative economy, if you will, to help out your business. Might be worthwhile looking into. And off we go. We're going to start talking about all things Sarah Moore health. And the one thing that kind of, when I first met you, you came into my living room to do a video. And I had no idea that you kind of led with, at that time, the whole colonic movement.
It's the undercover.
The undercover colonic.
Yeah. I actually started with Colonics first. I mean, my degrees, we talked about that. My degrees from MTSU, actually recording industry business. And then I got into personal training, and then that led me into kind of just looking into holistic health and things like that. And colonics came up. Never had, I maybe had heard about an enema from a juice cleanse book, but I had nobody telling me, or my parents weren't like that. But I think the competitive nature, I tell people that, for me, when I usually set out to do something, more so back then than I am now, I wanted to be the best or really good at it. Or no, I put the best effort in. And so when I started in and I realized I got to start from the inside out, because I'd been in that personal training world that's really about the outside, right? And it's calorie counting and macros and just, ugh. And so I was like, this makes total sense. I have to get the old stuff out. And I was young. I was 23, 24, learning about this early, being like, okay, let me look at the history of my parents and my grandparents' health. Then let me see how I was when I was born. Because I think I was just attracting all the right books that told me, the things I needed to. Because it wasn't like I was just reading all these books,
Right.
And so Colonics came up, and no part of me thought it was weird, which is interesting. And I was like, gosh, I'm going to try that. And so I just started getting them. And at the time, my boyfriend at the time, who became my husband, now my ex-husband, we both went because he was open-minded about stuff. And so, I felt better. I wasn't constipated like most people think they have to go to not because they're not pooping. I just was doing it to get the old stuff out and overall health.
Right.
And then the gentleman I was getting them from, and I went to a guy first. That didn't even bother me. And he's like, Sarah, I think you'd be really good at this, to have a business, people would like to come to you. And I was like, I don't know that I want to do this as a business, but I can get trained, and then I can just give it to my husband and I, get more of them and not cost money outside of my training. And because I was really about trying to attract all the health modalities that I had been learning about at my disposal, because we didn't have a lot of money then, and a lot of holistic health things cost You have to pay cash. Insurance isn't covering it.
Right.
And we were small business owners. I didn't have insurance.
Right.
Anyway, I got trained while I was pregnant with my daughter, who's going to be 16 on Friday.
Crazy.
I know. And I was having a home birth. I was already kind of down that path of that, kind of whole crunchy granola mom world. Got trained in the Colonics, and then it came about to be a business because he had some business stuff go on, and I was there with a newborn and saying, I got to make some money. And nobody my age would have probably gone to the type of people I was willing to go to,
Right.
To get something like that done. And so I thought, gosh, if I could at least just help a constipated friend or something.
Right.
But then I realized the deeper of it, and the personal training counseling kind of came back in of like, this is much more than this.
Right.
So then I went back to school for holistic nutrition, a 2-year program. And then I started trying to combine. But because colonics, there's not very many of us, it's more of a niche. It's taken off way more than the way I do nutrition because I don't focus on gimmicks and things. I don't offer weight loss programs.
Right.
I offer like deep nutrition based longevity programs. Yeah, like my stuff, and I can say, could there be something going on with me? No, I'm sitting here at 42, extremely healthy, never been medicated, no personal issue. Just very, I'm not going through what the 40-year-old woman starts to complain about on Instagram and everything of the body's finally now hitting its oh shit place that most women are after the kids are born and that kind of stuff. Because I did start early, but it progressed, and then I, went on the mental health piece to make sure that was right. Because you can drink all the green juice in the world, but if you're stressed out, just counteracts it. So anyway, the colonics, I have someone trained under me now, Christina. She's awesome. And the nutrition, the goal is to be able, when the kids are gone, to travel more with clients, do more speaking, do more exactly like what I'm doing now, because I have so much experience in that field now, doing it for 16 years. I don't want to be kept in a office space.
Yeah, you want to move around.
Oh, I want to be everywhere. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And certainly you can do that.
Yeah.
It's funny because as I've been thinking about getting one myself, you first come to mind, right? You're the first one that comes to mind. And it's kind of like, but that would be kind of weird. It's like, I have no idea what it looks like, what the process is like. Are you going to, at some point you got to freaking, do the old Moon River and stick a pipe up there, I guess. And
and I have a client, John, who's been a client forever, and he sings the beginning of that every and he's probably gotten 200 or 300 colonics from me, no joke. And every time he's like, Moon River.
Moon River. That's from Fletch.
He'll love hearing that.
Right?
But well, he had to tell me whenever he first got it. But any guy I've dated, which is always comical to people, always gets one.
Yeah.
And it's not something where I'm like, you need to, because my personal, I'm not trying to save you or help, in that way. So I think the way I live and the way I do things just inspires people to decide to choose, and I don't pressure it, and I'm not out here all woo-woo crystals and everything, even though I love that stuff. Well, I feel like I'm the modern person's, what I do in my private life, I don't make it be a part of how the profession needs to be, because I want to meet people where they are.
You're a practitioner.
Right. And I want you to feel comfortable, regardless if you're doing similar things to me or you're eating McDonald's every day and you just say, hey, I want to try a colonic. I don't want you to feel like I'm judging or you're feeling guilty. So
should you not eat McDonald's every day?
I would prefer you not. I prefer you not.
I saw there was a video the other day. They did one of those things where they left a bag of McDonald's that they bought in 1996, and they just opened it and everything was still intact.
Well, and a guy I dated, and he's a marketing guy for McDonald's now, and we always go back and forth, and I'll send him funny articles. But I believe one time he told me, oh, this isn't real. But my midwife, when I first went to her before Addie was born, she had a glass jar with a hamburger and another glass jar with French fries. And Addie was born in 2007, and that jar had been there for over 10 years, and it's still, outside of being crumbly, still the same. But what I was going to say to you is, I said to a guy who came in not too long ago that had been a friend first, and he was like, I don't know, would that change our friendship? And I said, if you were to have a surgery and your friend was a surgeon, really good, would you want your friend to do the surgery? And he was like, well, of course. And I said, so what you're thinking is I'm going to be personal while we're in this professional space, because you never see me in that place.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be caring about everything in an even greater way because I know you personally, and so I said, yes, it is awkward how it has to happen, I guess, but
well, describe how it goes. I mean, I get the gist.
Well, we're cleaning the colon, so
Yeah.
the fastest way to the colon is going to be through your rectum.
Right.
So
Damn
I
near
have
killed
to,
him.
to just be like, I stick a tube up your ass, basically. But it's not a tube. See, like
Right.
dudes love that.
How big is the tube?
Right. Every guy says that.
Right.
But when she says that, you're like, what do you mean? Just take it. No, I'm just kidding.
It's only 2 inches in diameter.
Well,
what?
okay, okay, let's go into serious mode really quick because
Good luck.
because the rectum is very strong and very powerful. That's why we don't shit ourselves. Okay,
Right.
so you have 3 sphincter muscles, and I'm just trying to get through those 3 sphincter muscles. So I would say Google the colon, Google the rectum, and you'll see that like is not a very long canal. Okay,
Right.
so if someone has a booty, male or female, it's going to seem like the scope is going up deeper because those sphincter muscles are not as close because there's just more butt or, more there,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
A very skinny person, it's not going to even seem like it's going in as far because everything's really close together.
Yeah.
So I don't, inches wise, I mean, it's really, when you first look at it, you're going to be like, whoa, but it's not much longer than that rectal canal because we don't want to get to like where the colon starts. We just
Right.
want to go to the rectum, and once someone's not fighting against me, the body kind of sucks it in, so
Right.
to speak. So but the positive is too, that's not an area most people are paying attention to be honest. You wipe and you go. And now we're older, people are getting, have hemorrhoids. If you've had a vaginal burst, you probably got them. If you're someone who sits all the time or travels, that just happens. And I've had a couple times where I've brought to someone's attention things that were going on that needed to get more checked up. Just because I'm aware of how it should feel, how it should go, for me to do that. But as far as I make the room look like a massage room, I really don't make it look medical. I have clients today and I'm wearing this.
Right.
If I have guys, I don't dress up for men because
Right.
if it's their first time, because it's already weird for them. And if I'm in heels, they're like,
I don't know, is this kind of place?
I know, right? But I dress for myself and how I want to feel that day. So it's usually, but you're covered. You just remove your waist down. You have a towel on you the whole time. You
Right.
keep the upper body there. I allow, if you feel comfortable and you want to have your phone there, listen to your own music, do your own thing. Most people just end up talking to me and I talk about mindless shit going on in my life just to also relate and just, be one-on-one with someone so they feel comfortable. The first session's always awkward for everyone. I don't say just get one. Try to do 3 to 6 close together because after the first one, me, the situation.
Yeah.
You're not as nervous. The second one, the body lets go more. Because if
Right.
you're nervous, everything closes up. We don't
It's
release
like
as
going
well.
to a chiropractor. You just got to loosen up.
Well, right. And you have to relax. If you fight against him, it hurts even, even more. So, yeah, I'm very aware of the jokes and the whatever, but also for
That's
doing
to your benefit, man. I mean,
well,
gosh.
and for as long as I've done this, I tell people for my mental health and to really just not be bothered by where the world is going, like everybody says, oh my God, the world's falling apart or whatever. When you start on a holistic health journey very early, you see the discrepancies, you see the inconsistencies with health, and you see where it's not really for our side to be healthy,
Right.
and we're not benefited outside of feeling healthy, but we're not benefited by insurance, etc., for being healthy, right? I'm not getting money a month because I never go to a doctor or take an antibiotic, And so you start to see that, and you start to become kind of bitter and frustrated, and like, God, why are they doing this to us? And why is it set up for us to just be sick all the time,
Yeah.
And then ideally, there's a lot of people that will stay bitter and go holistic health and still be bitter, which is
Right.
not healthy. Or like myself, I thought, okay, I'm grateful I have this knowledge and information that's almost like a secret, kind of in a way.
Yeah.
And I've attracted all these things in my life to be able to live the way I live. I have an infrared sauna in my house. Obviously, I get myself colonics. I meet people who do cool stuff. And I have 2 different realities. I have my life and the way I live with my kids and what I choose to do for myself. And then as soon as I walk into my office, I have the reality of what is the real world that I have to be present for, because every single client is coming in with a different body, different life, different mental, different everything that's leading them up to get to me. And I have to be understanding of it. Sometimes it's an emotional, mental thing as to why they're there. And then you get into the nutrition work, it's even deeper because I understand their whole life. Like, when do you wake up to when you go to bed? Are you married? You know, all of that stuff. And so the only way that I can not take it home and be sane myself is to have found a way to energetically just cut it off. And that's how I can stay healthy. That's how I practice what I preach. That's why I can continue to not be like a stereotype of the industry, because you find a lot of people that work in my world that have burnout who or don't look healthy anymore. And they're still on this, but you're like, but I'm supposed to trust you.
Could be mind over matter in a way.
Yeah, and I think you have to go a little slower. That's the thing I've learned where it would have been a problem because I wasn't able to go at the pace that I thought I wanted to go at because I wanted to be the mom that I wanted to be, and then I had to be able to say, you know, no, like this weekend, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm staying home. I'll watch football all weekend, or I'll just do my thing because I need that shut off of my mind. Because when you also are in my profession and doing what you're doing and meeting people in a space that nobody does, then they get comfortable with asking you about all kinds of stuff. And they have your text message and they want to, and so, and no, none of my clients have a problem with me saying, hey, I can't right now, or they'll say, hey, Sarah, when you're free, but it's still already in my head as soon as I read it.
Wasn't there an auto reply for text that we can program? I'm not even sure about that.
No,
there should be.
But I've gotten okay at like the boundary of it, you know, but I have the time where I'll just go back into my phone and scroll down my text. Who do I need to still respond to? Or that's why I love voice notes, because I'll just voice note it so I don't have to text him. Like, you know, I'm just talking, then they hear my voice and my, you know, nothing gets construed by the text. You know my...
You hear the tone.
Yeah.
And you interpret it that
way. Because we're talking about some deep shit.
It's,
literally,
I mean,
figuratively.
Completely literal. But I mean, I even just kind of like getting into the sensation of it. I mean, you got to getting back to the whole process of what we were talking about. I had no idea that there were 3 sphincter muscles, right? And you're going in roughly 6-7 inches.
I don't know if it's that long.
Not that long?
I mean, I wish
5 inches?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's the scope has a little stopper on it.
I mean, most guys...
I mean, I can send you a picture of it. You can pop up when you edit it. And then we
this
can
is
show
about
everybody
8
the
inches,
scope.
right?
Yeah, I don't know. What are we talking about now? Scopes or guys?
I know.
Just kidding.
Guys have misconstrued...
I'm not usually paying attention once it's hard, so it's doing something else.
That's what I love about you.
Let's be honest.
You'll just go there. So it goes in about 4 or 5 inches, I would imagine. Because
because again, like if you think about a butt and think about yourself laying on your side, you know,
you're
probably
on your side when it happens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like so, just think of.
I thought there was like a hole in the table or something like that.
No. On your side, left side, start out. And by the way, tip is left side's the best side for digestion too. So if you eat a big meal and you're going to lay down on the couch laying on your left side, it'll help you digest better. Yeah, or if you're having stomach issues and you go to bed laying on your left side. So we're on your left side first, and like imagine if someone had it doesn't even someone overweight. Like I'm thin, but I have a booty. So there's just going to be more there. A skinny. Well, what I say is like a skinny woman per se. You have like rectum, vagina, like really close. Someone who's a little has more butt back there. It's not as close. You know, and I mean, women will get that more than men just because even if you have vaginal childbirth. There, you could tear back to the rectum. Right. And so women who have more butt don't tear as much. Right. Yeah. So with that being said, how far it goes, I should know exactly what the scope is. I honestly, the things that freak people out most, I don't draw a lot of attention to because either way, I got to do it. I got to go that way. Right. So if we're going to get it done.
And I guess the sensation is like, you know, if it's like reverse pooping in a way.
It's pressure. Like if someone has like a bowel movement close to their rectum, it's just going to feel like I'm pushing that in. Right. Outside of their own mental weirdness of just that I'm doing it. Right. The feeling is not so much pain. It's like a pressure and a weirdness.
It's just a weird, Nothing about the situation or the procedure is painful from what I understand. It's actually, I would dare say euphoric in a way.
Well, it depends on how your session goes. There's 2 ways that I always tell people they could feel. They could feel cramping, which is gas traveling through your colon, or pressure, which is the bowel movements like about to come out. Like anytime you have a sensation to go and you're like, oh, I got to get to the bathroom. Yeah. Well, with this, you don't push. You got to just relax and let it come out through the tube. And so mentally, you're like, if I had this feeling, I'd be on the toilet by myself, not in front of some chick I just met with a tube in my butt. About to watch my poop come out the tube. And so
I love your attitude. This is why you should go see Sarah. She makes colonics fun.
Well, yeah, and it's soup, but on the flip side, like you and I have people come in with very deep chronic illnesses, people with stage 4 cancer just trying to get relief before, unfortunately, they pass. So it's it's not, we're joking now. It's not a joke, but if you're coming in a situation where, hey, I see this being beneficial, I know about it. I've heard about it. Now it's on TikTok all the time. People come in hearing it on that. You want to go with someone who's going to, again, meet you where you are. Because I've had people be like, oh my gosh, I went to this lady and she put crystals all over my body and it was pretty crazy. But they did it because they knew their body needed it, but yet we're uncomfortable. And so when you're uncomfortable, though, your whole body goes into a place of holding on, right? It goes into like that survival, flight, or fight mode. So if if I want you to be in a place to release, then we gotta be comfortable, right? And so anything in my control to make it more comfortable, I'll do that. The rest is just gonna be, you're just gonna feel a certain way when you come because you've never done it before, and it's different.
So, I mean, the first time, I guess the next sensation you would feel is a warm water stream traveling up the colon. Yeah,
some people don't even feel it when it first starts coming. Really? But yeah, keep the water temperature 90 degrees, close to your body temperature. And then you start feeling it go. If stuff already starts moving, you might feel, oh my gosh, I feel some of that cramping.
Do you feel like you're actually defecating in that sense?
You won't start yet. The first tank is pretty slow because remember, you're laying on your side, not standing up. So every day you're helping your body poop ideally by gravity. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Same as a woman trying to go into labor. She's going to walk around to let the baby drop. So I have you laying on your side and fighting against, so to speak. And so it takes a little bit of the water doing the work. I'll do some holds where I'll hold the water inside your colon. But usually most people will start releasing around the second or third tank. But now we're in a place, and I would say in a world where I can have people do multiple sessions and not get anything out for a while.
Oh, really?
Well, because they're so dehydrated. And most people are like, well, I drink plenty of water, but the water's not getting right to the source. So the colon is dehydrated. Okay. So me putting in 20 gallons of water, which is what a whole session is, 20 gallons of water.
Oh my gosh. I had a 20-gallon fish tank. I can't imagine that going up there. So it all comes out at the same time.
Well, it's cycling until I do the hold. And the hold is maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds. That's where you'll feel pressure. The water stays in there, soak, build some pressure. Then it releases. But it's continually...
Is it being sucked out or is it the body naturally pushing?
The natural, it's going to be like I do a gravity method, which is the most natural. So nothing is mechanical in mine outside of like science and gravity, really. Right. And so then where your body is the variable. Yeah. Okay. And so it's going to be different with everybody. So the water might flow through somebody's body slower than another person based on what's in there. And we have this idea that our colon is just shaped like an anatomy picture of the colon, right? Yeah. When we see the basic anatomy of the inside of the body, we have the colon here and the small intestines, but it's not that way inside the body. Specifically, if you gained and lost weight, women who have had babies or C-sections, the colon is kind of like this maze through the body, and there's turns and curves. And so as you get more colonics, you learn more about your body just by feeling how it's releasing. So some people can say, gosh, I always have this cramp on my side, or my lower back is always sore. Yeah. It's your colon. But as you move that stuff out, then that inflammation that's been held where the poop was stuck then goes away, and then the rest of the body feels it.
Right. So then once everything is said and done, you've pumped in the first session 20 gallons of water into...
Yeah, through the body, and then whenever the session's done, and 20 gallons.
How far up does it go? I mean, because you're going
through your entire large intestines. It stops at the ileocecal valve, which is where you go into the small intestine.
Small intestine is the one that wraps around?
Well, the small intestines is first where most... large is smaller than the small. It's just larger in circumference. Okay. So the small intestine is going to be, if you look at the picture, the large is the one that's going on the outside. The small is all wrapped in the inside. If you're visualizing that anatomy picture I was talking about. And so the large, though, the best way to do it is just Google x-rays of the colon. Right. Like do Google x-rays, because then you'll actually see how people's are.
You're going through the entirety of the small intestine.
No. I don't get to the small. I get to because the large is where we go into the rectum. So that's your exit. So it's the last one. So I always call the large intestines like your trash can of your body. Right. It's a holding place that ideally you get your trash out. Right. So once you're done, and sometimes I have to go, for the sake of the session to be the time it is, we do 4 tanks. Sometimes somebody's still releasing at the end and I got to do more water. I mean, obviously can't get you off the table while you're in the middle of shitting. So, but once we're in a good spot for you to be done, stop the water, pull the scope out. That feels super weird, but then you're back to normal. You got all your muscles working for you.
You'll be walking weird for about a day
Well, you
or
just
so.
immediately get up and go into the bathroom. Now, a control freak type person or a person that's really nervous about the whole session, they get more on the toilet when we're done than they do during the session.
Right.
But that's still fine. You're still getting it out. Sit there for a little bit. Get the rest of it out. Get up. You know, and most people are good the rest of the day.
Yeah.
You have others that will continue going the rest of the day or just get some water out or, you know, again, that variable that it's too, I'm not quite sure.
Right.
I don't recommend going to a workout class afterwards. I mean, some people do.
No yoga classes.
But, you know, and I've had people when I used to be off Lewisburg Pike here that would come from like East Nashville or even further. And they'd be like, Sarah, I had to pull over, or I didn't make it home on time, or
wow.
yeah, just because once you sit and it settles some more,
yeah,
all of a sudden, boom,
yeah.
there it is.
Yeah,
Shoot your pants. Sorry.
My goodness.
So yeah.
So I mean, I've always heard stories about people losing like 10 pounds. Is that something that happens? I mean,
yes and no. Like the whole weight loss thing is so funny because if someone comes in with that in their mind and then they don't do it, then they think it didn't work, and then it's I didn't lose, you know. So yes, sometimes people will literally lose that much and shit. Like I had a girl who used to come to me, and she's very thin, and she'd had childhood rheumatoid arthritis most of her life. She's now an adult, but had been on medication since a very young age, you know. Wouldn't go but once a month.
Right.
Okay. She'd come to me. Nothing would come out during the session. Everything afterwards. But she was just funny. So she'd weigh herself before and after, and it would literally be 5 pounds of poop that would come out of her at each session. Now, the other case is that as you get more toxicity out of your body, which we are right at the source, then your hormones and your body can then adapt better to then regulate the insulin, your blood sugar, etc., to where then it's a catalyst to losing weight more effectively.
Really?
Well, because again, this idea that we just can go on a cleanse and then, like I do a juice cleanse for 5 days and it just, everything I cleanse disappears, or I lose a bunch of weight and I don't need to cleanse, is such, it's just bad info. Because if I do a juice cleanse and the juice is green juice and it's great nutrition and it cleanses my body, where's it going after it cleanses?
Yeah.
It needs to come through your skin or it needs to come through your bowels.
Right.
So you need to be doing colonics or enemas as you cleanse. Furthermore, when you lose weight, your fat is holding on to toxicity. Because, I mean, we know what fat attracts, even if we look at just, you got some olive oil and put it in a thing. You know, it's going to pull things to it.
Yeah.
So when you lose a lot of weight, the body's dumping that fat. And most people are not getting it out. So over time, they begin gaining the weight back. Well, why? Because it reabsorbs back into the body through the colon. Mm-hmm. Then the hormones have to respond to that toxicity again, the liver, the gallbladder, if you still have it. All of those things are responding again. And the body's really trying to say, I don't want this toxicity in here. I don't want you to have it because I don't want your organs dealing with it. So where am I going to put it? I must put it back in your fat again.
Yeah.
And you gain your weight back because you really never cleansed along with the weight loss. So that's why my nutrition programs work well, because the Colonics start having them feel better, right? Because they start getting out poop, they start sleeping better from the Colonics, they start feeling a little bit more energized. And then as they're doing the food changes, it just all works better because they're cleansing at the same time they're changing their food and their lifestyle. And so it's like, yeah. So I always recommend if you're doing any type of cleanse, even if it's detox tea or something that's making you crap like crazy, still do Colonics.
Right, right.
You're losing weight, go get Colonics.
You'll be proud of us. Our kids wanted an interesting Christmas gift this last year. A bidet.
Oh, I want to keep their butthole clean. And
yeah, man. And it's like, you know, you always hear about it and you always wonder and try and wrap your head around it after using toilet paper all these years. And then you try, because we got ourselves one as well. And I'm like, where have you been all?
And I don't even have one in the office because my office has super old plumbing. And so, like, I minimize. But, you know, I tell people, I'm like, no one wipes their butt or uses more toilet papers or wet wipes than anyone in my office.
Right.
So, like, people are paying me to come poop. But the bidet is genius.
I'm hesitant to do it anywhere else now because I got to use toilet paper otherwise.
Well, and
I feel like I'm wiping a marker.
People don't clean their butt well.
Well, I
even
do.
Even clean people don't, though, just because.
I can't stand it if I don't.
Yeah,
I can't stand
you've been changed forever.
Yeah.
The cleanest.
That's like I might be a good candidate because I'll sit there and
cleanest asshole in Spring Hill and Thompson
you
Station.
turn it on and all of a sudden you're kind of like you're moving around and
you're getting too excited.
You're trying not getting excited.
Your wife's like, "Where's Jim?" Oh, he's
hold on,
just washing his asshole
again. And I'm sitting there just trying to get it all done. It just. And then you pat off, and there's nothing there. It's like beautiful.
and really a good bowel movement, you shouldn't even have to wipe. So that's the other thing. If your poop is coming out as it should, there really is no wipe.
Fudgy the Whale kind of thing.
Which should just come out like, not like pee in that liquidy, but like your urge to go pee, you sit down, you pee. Yeah. Your urge to poop, you should have the feeling come, sit down, the colon releases, and you're done. But the serious part of the clean thing is because if we've had hemorrhoids or anything like that, you got to think how acidic poop is. It's all toxins, right? It's all waste of your body and food you've eaten or didn't chew up well or whatever. So even a little speck on someone left there, it's not even an unclean person, just a little speck.
Yeah.
Feels like it's just really irritating. It inflames that whole area, which is very sensitive because you're always sitting on it or you might have your clothes. And then it does become a major problem for someone.
That doesn't wipe well.
Right, because you have to use if you have anything there, like a hemorrhoid or an anal fissure or anything, you just need to carry wipes with you. So you really make sure that you clean that area super well. When you take a shower, you clean it really well.
Yeah.
But people don't want to touch themselves like that.
I'm really, dare I say, I'm very anal about that area, dare I say.
Dad joke. Turn that one in. Yeah. No, and everybody should be. Yeah. But also the other thing is what, like if people are afraid to touch their body, then you also miss when there could be something wrong.
Right.
And those are the areas too that hidden things happen, cancer, serious stuff, because you're not ever really touching it.
Yeah.
And so I'm always a proponent of like just getting to know your body. Women maybe more so do because they rub lotion on themselves and they do different things like that. Men maybe not as much, except when they're in the shower. Yeah. And so you miss those major things that could be going on because you're not.
I just feel bad for the person that's got to like look at my butt. You know what I mean?
I'm not really like if it's me, I'm not really going to be looking at it.
Right.
I'm very I could probably do it with my eyes closed. I'd lift up a towel, stick the scope in, cover you back up. It's just like
how long does the insertion take? Does it a couple seconds? You're just
I mean, as long as nobody's fighting against me. I mean, some people are like clenched up tight. If it's too tight, I'll just say, "Hey, you got to relax."
Don't make me get the hammer out.
Yeah, or I'll just have them put it in themselves. I just say, "Here, I'm going to need you to do it," because the last thing I'm going to do is force anything.
Right.
And so I'll just say, "Hey, if you put your hand back here, I'll let you." Because then they'll do it quickly because it's them and the connection is there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like giving yourself your own injection.
Well, some states that they didn't know how to regulate colonics, and so some states have where you have to put the scope in yourself. They just feel like because I'm not a medical doctor, and that's the way they've just chose to regulate it, is that the person coming in is making the choice to be there, and I'm not a doctor or someone who is licensed to touch them. They have to put it in themselves.
Imagine being in that brainstorming session. You know, how do you guys want to regulate this? I know. They can put it in there themselves. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
yay or nay?
Yeah. So
getting started in this business was inspired by just your journey, and leading with that, I think was brilliant because I mean it opens it up. Your tip of the spear, no pun intended, is the colonic thing because it's unique. I don't know many people that are doing it.
Many of us.
And it opens it up to all the things that you could possibly do.
Well, you don't want to go to somebody else after you've had it done.
Right.
You like to stay with your same person.
It's like a personal relationship.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, I do. And multiple, or someone was like, Sarah, I went something like, did you cheat on me? They're like, well, it wasn't the same. I just mess with them. Because I'm a proponent. If you find someone or if you go out of town or you go whatever and you want to get a colonic, get it. Regardless if it's the exact kind I do or whatever, because I think it's important. But yeah, it's definitely a niche market for sure. And I would think like I said, I didn't think I'd have it as a business, but from a business standpoint, if you think I'm going to get into something that there's not very many people, so then I've got to find the pain point, show there's a need and a desire.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people who already knew about it, like myself, that sought out someone. Then you have a lot that will hear it from their friends. And then you have the others that are like, I didn't even know this existed to have done. Right. And so then that's where your kind of marketing comes in. Then you have a base of people that are not going to tell other people.
Yeah.
Because if you get it done, you might not want anybody to know you're doing it.
And they're ashamed of it.
Yeah, or it's a private thing. And then you have social media where not everybody wants to share it on social media, which now is such a wonderful way to get referrals because people share it, but they're not always going to share it, and I totally respect that.
Right.
And so, and then me starting out young, realizing that getting started young is the best way, but hindsight's 2020 when it comes to our health. Man, I wish I would have known that because a lot of times most people aren't focusing on it until something starts to go bad.
I honestly heard about it in the 90s through the Howard Stern show.
Did they had someone on that got it done?
Robin got it done.
Yeah.
And they were talking about it, for probably weeks.
Well, LA is like, but that's where, your original thought of like, hey, what do you see as far as Nashville, Middle Tennessee? And because you have a lot more transplants, we are becoming kind of a hub of everyone coming here, Texas, California, whether it's political or whatever. I find a lot of Nashville is trying to be LA. Right?
Yeah,
so you get transplants of LA that want to have their LA modalities here. So they want to find a good, I get those emails a lot. Hey, I moved here from I haven't found a good therapist here. Because you're not going back and forth to get it done.
Right.
And then you hear about it now. You heard about it on a radio show. Then it used to be on reality shows. And now it's on TikTok. And so the word is getting spread. And people are just sharing clearly more of their personal life and personal things they do to where it just doesn't seem as taboo.
There was not only that, but the radio station I worked for in Vegas, they did them live on the air. They actually sent one of the morning show people and they actually had a mic with them,
which is so funny because unless you have someone like me who can make it comical, like we've already made it and we're just doing it like this.
We're cutting it up, man. You're one of the guys.
Then it's like, it's really just so unique that makes for good video, as opposed to like during the session, it's not really like, yes, when poop comes out, you're like, whoa, but it's not a real entertaining thing, but the idea of it is entertaining. So then that's why it does so well as a novelty type thing on these different shows.
Similar to like, Dr. Pimple Popper and all those types of things. Is there a potential for you to market yourself that way? Because, I mean, she's made a brand out of herself just by showing pimples exploding.
I follow
pimple porn.
Yeah, I follow some people on, like, that show way more. I'll be honest with you. If I'm not in the space in my office, even when I watch poop come through a tube with somebody else giving a colonic, I don't want to see it.
Right.
And I tell clients, it's the same with pimple popping. Some people, I could watch pimple popping stuff all day long.
I know.
My kids are like,
what is it? Right.
It's so gross, right? I don't know how the receptivity would be of people seeing shit come through a tube.
You never know until you try.
Well, people are gross. People are freaks out here, So
if they're willing to watch pimples, man.
But the beauty of why I can do it this long, because people are like, how could you do this for this long? Is I'm not ever smelling it.
Yeah.
I don't have to dispose of it. So all the stuff that's really gross. So for me, the way I've gotten through it this many years is because I know the benefits. I know how wonderful it is. And I just see toxicity coming through a tube. I don't see so for instance, if someone I always tell clients, if you have something in your toilet after a session or something when you go home that you want me to look at, forewarn me, picture is coming.
Yeah.
Because if you text me and I'm in the middle of eating and I open up your text and it's your shit in the middle of the toilet, I about want to throw up. Like I'm not on duty right now.
Doc, what is this?
Yeah, and you don't pay me after you leave the office. So nutrition clients, yes, they're paying me, but so I'll always be like, hey, heads up. Or say, hey, Sarah, I have a picture when you're ready. Because people think, again, and it is some crazy not even shit, parasites, etc., that come out of people, and
tapeworms and stuff like that.
If you can breathe, you got a parasite.
Oh, really?
Oh, a lot of them. Oh, yeah. I think it's the root of most diseases, and
really.
Oh, they're all over, and it's not. Oh, I had sushi a lot, or I went to another country.
See, I was always the lucky guy when I was younger. We had my great uncle used to kind of come and not live with us, but he would visit us, and he was in his 80s, and he would. I would always catch him in compromising positions. I was always the one. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, Uncle Joe, knock on the door, and the door would open. He's just butt-ass naked freaking shaving. And I'm like, Dinner's ready, you know, and why do I gotta, you know, and it's like, it happened all the friggin' time. Just, you know, I'm just walking from the bathroom to the bedroom, just let it all hang out. Like, dude.
Yeah, cover up, right. Yeah.
So I would have to come in, he would use the bathroom, and I walk in after him, and it looks like he freaking crapped out a 2-liter Pepsi bottle. And sitting, I'm like, dude, do I need to get
Clean
a freaking stick?
Yeah. Like,
You made an island, for crying out loud. I need to chop this thing up. Can you do this? I mean, you know, I'm going, Mom. She's laughing because she thinks it's hilarious because I'm always literally the one that had to catch him in these positions. I'm like, what the crap, no pun intended, is this?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, he was complaining of being constipated. I'm like, you think? He freaking crapped a damn Pepsi bottle, for crying out loud. Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah, well, some people only go once a day, and then it's everything.
Oh, my gosh. I have to go a few times a day.
Hey, you're going to have to edit this out. I have to be back in my office by 12:45, just FYI.
So we are, okay, so you got about a 30-minute drive? It takes
me 20 minutes to get 25 minutes, yeah, so.
Okay, so we got to wrap up in...
Yeah, or we can do a part 2.
So you got to get back, you got to leave now?
No. It'll take me like 20 minutes to get there by 12:45.
Okay.
I have to be, my client starts at 12:45.
Not a problem. Okay, cool. Well, I'll do this then. We'll
we're still going.
Yeah. So I'm just going to fire this off randomly because I know you're under a time crunch.
We got 20, 30 more minutes.
Sure. Yeah. Let's keep going. Okay. I'll keep mindful of that. What is your problem other than, being backed up or anything? Not that you are.
A problem with business or problem in general?
Anything.
A problem with life?
Mainly business, but life, you know.
Yeah, if I was thinking about that because I knew what the show was about and looked at other people's, and I thought, the evolution of me as a business owner, small business owner that homeschooled my kids up until 2020 and works in health, so I wanted to always be like cohesive of how I live versus what I was talking about to people. And then you're always like, where's my business coming from? And this isn't I used Twitter when it first came out, and then social media helps, but again, I'm in a kind of a different space. And so for me now, it's that, we talked about this at the beginning, I think there is a lot of authenticity on social media, but for me who kind of came in...
You were early.
Well, yeah, and I'm 42. I'm 42, so we didn't start with social media, really. No. And so it isn't natural.
Well, 16 years ago was 07.
Yeah, it wasn't really natural. Like, I remember when I had to, when they changed Facebook to where it wasn't just a college student thing,
right.
Where
that was about that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We were coming off of we were being weaned off of MySpace.
Well, right, and we had Twitter because I remember getting Gary Vee's first book all about Twitter and being like, okay, I could find myself in this space, and I would try. I would try to promote Colonics to anybody in a not crazy way, understanding what it was. So I would say for me, it's about saying, where am I now as a mother and as a business owner in this space? And where do I want to go for myself where my business is also a part of it? Because I chose something I enjoy and I'm passionate about. I chose something that I live every day. So it's not that where I'm like, yes, it could be profitable, but it's also health. And I don't look at health as profits, although I have to because I have
That's
to
how
live.
You stay in its air.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you work in something like I do, you have to also understand what you're doing, and it's people's bodies and their lives. And so I don't put dollar signs on that. Like my prices could be higher, let's say that. But I also, okay. So you have that, and then here I am now, no longer married. My kids are 14 and 16. And when they graduate, I can go anywhere, especially with the nutrition side of things. So what I sit and think about is what moves and strategies that I'm trying to make to still keep making money off of what I've started, but again, working on the things that are going to allow me to live and make money where I'm trying to go.
Here's how I see it. And this is, maybe I know the solution. You got personal brand written all over you.
Right.
And you know that.
Yeah.
I see what you put out there and stuff like that. You really a lot of high polished pictures, but I'm seriously thinking that you should pursue the pimple popping type approach.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to continue doing colonics.
But that's what leads into everything else.
Right. And and that's already well established. I mean, that's why I'm not against what you're saying. Yeah. But it's also getting to the place with what I have going on with the kids and Oh, they're like, some days I'm just like, I don't want to be in the office.
Right.
Where like my nutrition clients, I can take them virtually, and I do,
But you have your own methodology that you can train and pour into other people, like you're talking about. You got somebody that's working for you now that you duplicate yourself, and they know your methodology of how to do this thing.
Correct.
And you can become known as that brand that leads with colon health.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think the missing link of nutritionists is they're not having their clients clean their colon.
Right.
And used to, it would be, I would see, nutritionists that would be like, I've got to cleanse, and guess what? I don't even recommend you do a colon. Like as if it's a selling point because people were afraid to get colonics. And I'm like, no, you're doing a misnomer to your client because, you're thinking that everybody's pooping like you're pooping. But if you talk to a colon hydrotherapist, I have some people that don't poop for 3 weeks.
But I mean, the conversation I had with you at the beginning of this conversation, okay, what's the process like? What does it feel like? How far are you going in? Those are they got to be FAQs, I would imagine. Yeah, there's some of that on the website also. Yeah. That's stuff you can put out all day long. Yeah. And attract attention. Because they're big, their fear factor, I guess, would be, is it painful? Is it?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to start doing, and I had this idea after a lady came in, and she was in her 60s. Yeah. Real spunky. She walked in. Someone had recommended her. Very skinny arms and legs, mostly gut weight. And she was like, I've had 8 heart attacks, and I've got 3 stents. I haven't pooped for 9 days. Wow. But I'm really pretty healthy. I mean, I drink a lot. But yeah. And so she has her first colonic, really gets nothing out. Doesn't get much out on the toilet, and then just thinks it doesn't work. Well, I was really thinking this would do a whole lot more for me. Well, you've had 8 heart attacks, you have 3 stents, you drinking problem, and you're sick. The niche too would be explaining the process. Obviously, not saying anybody's name or violating any sort of confidentiality, but saying, where would you go from here? Right. If
jackhammer, you got concrete up there for crying out loud.
Well, if Judy. Yeah. It's always the name I use when I'm just saying a woman's name.
Karen.
Judy. I can't go Karen now. It's got the bad rap. But Judy, what would you do with Judy? Right. And I think because that's where people are forgetting the real life of how people are really living. Because some people, it's unfathomable to think that people don't poop for 3 weeks at a time. Yeah. Or when I have the form fill out, I don't ask anymore how many times you poop a day. How many times do you poop a week? Right. And I'll look at it once.
Really? I
cannot so much
enormous.
If I went through the list right now of new clients that come in
once a week.
Yeah, but I just told you, people come in, they don't poop for 3 weeks.
Gosh.
So if we have a colonic and that person gets like 5 to 6 bowel movements out in that one session, that's a month worth of poop for them they got out in 1 hour. Yeah. Think about that.
Yeah. That's a lot of stuff.
Well, that's just a lot their body's holding on to.
It's like an entire suitcase of it.
Yeah, their body's holding on to just a lot of shit. Oh. So I agree with you on that kind of being a niche. Yeah. Everything, though, I've chose to do is not that I haven't done things that have made me uncomfortable. But again, when you say, where's the problem? This isn't so much of a problem. It's staying authentic to enjoying what I'm doing every time I start something new. Right. And I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy that, but I don't know, like if Christina, who I'm trained with, if she would like to be a part of that, and then I'm kind of narrating or whatever while she's giving the session, cool. But again, it becomes a whole other thing too of a client not wanting to be seen and, and showing the session and that kind of a thing. So there's definitely the ability to do that. And I don't think that's bad. It's just not.
It's almost like a therapy in a way. I mean, it's really.
100% I'm a therapist.
Yeah, where people look forward to it like getting a massage.
Well, because the more you open up, if you understand chakras, and most people who've done like yoga understand chakras, but if you've done any sort of energy work, you have the root chakra, which is right there where your colon is. Right. And the root chakra is like what it says, your roots. So it's buried trauma, emotion, things that you came from. Mm-hmm. And so I'm activating that during a colonic. And so what men will find that they aren't aware of is like they might feel more sensitive when they get home. Right. I was kind of emotional, Sarah. Women will, again, they tend to share emotions more, but they will open that up even more. And so if I know them and I start talking to them based on stuff they've already told me, hey, you said you recently got divorced. Do you want to talk about what happened? I don't really care about their business, but I know once she starts talking about that, she'll release. Better. Well, she'll release.
Like going to a hairdresser for crying out loud.
Well, but she gets more poop out when she starts talking about it because she gets out what she's been holding on to. And more than likely, the reason why she's backed up is because the stress she went through going through the divorce and her body never started to let go. So in a session, she'll be like, oh, motherfucker cheated on me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look what's happening. Yeah. All this poop starts coming out. Right. Because that's the root of, like, yes, she probably eats poorly, etc. But it started because our body is a roadmap of emotions and things we've held on to inside of us.
Yeah.
And so when you're able to release that trauma in any sort of way, the body will start to heal because it's no longer carrying that. So that's a bigger, deeper part of colonics. So that's why that part becomes therapy. I have clients that look forward to, and then that's why they become friends, or they go through a breakup and they don't have a session coming up. Hey, Sarah, can you meet me for some coffee? I just really want to talk to you, because I already hold that space for them, and they know I know. And I am very good at it. I'm very intuitive. I'm very much directing. Like, I don't put my personal feelings in any of it. So they know that. Like, oh, this just makes sense. Because I try to present everything in a kind of logical type.
And you do. I mean, it's one of these things like, okay, as you're talking to me, would I take you up on it? And like, I'm probably at the point where I should just go ahead and do it. Like, Courtney and I should just make an appointment.
You should.
You know, and she would be, she's totally fine. Women, I guess, are easier. I guess you get a lot more women than men, right?
I'm probably 40% men now.
Really?
Yeah.
But in the beginning, you probably had a lot of women?
Yeah, I would say just because women talked to women and talked about it. Men usually would only come in at the time, oh, my buddy on the golf course, he said he did it, so I decided to come in. Now,
that's what it takes.
Yeah. But now you've got, obviously, with social media, people seeing it in different ways. And I would say even with black men, that picked up more after Chad. You have all this Marvel stuff after Chadwick Boseman died of colon cancer. You had a lot more black men that were aware of it. So I've been able to see the trends of, I have way more younger girls.
Good.
You know, so yeah, it's really, it's for everybody, honestly. Even if you're pooping on a regular basis, it's for you. I don't have any issues. I didn't come in with issues. Could my body have something that I'm correcting? Of course it could.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really, and that's where you're saying, like, for me, I'm not attached to you doing it or not. Like a long time ago, I let go of that, because if you're not paying me, I don't need to sit and convince and be worried about you. I care and I want you to be healthy. So my approach is always like, I'll teach you, I'll educate you, I'll let you know about it. You want to do it? Awesome.
Yeah.
But if not, that's cool, because when it hits you again, or someone brings it up again, you'll be like, oh, Sarah does that. I ought to go to Sarah. I'm going to ask her about it. And that's usually how it happens, because I don't sell. I just present information.
You just present,
And that's
in that way you sell. I mean, that's,
correct. But I'm, it's,
I can only imagine the hard sell guys getting their heads around this. Like,
well, because people want to debate you.
What's the one thing holding you back from doing it right now?
You know, right?
And making
what
you
are
feel
your
better.
pain points?
What are your
here?
pain points? Is it the procedure? Is it the price? Is it me?
Is it the time that's going to take for you to get there? Yeah. You know, like if you run this by Grant Cardone, because I know you interviewed him, and I've met Grant a couple times. It's like, okay, Grant, how would you cold call someone on a colonic? That'd be a great one for him.
Hey, you feel a little pent up lately? How are you doing? You pushing
full
the
of
stool?
shit, because I heard you talking earlier and none of it made sense.
I've seen your social media. You look like my kind of person.
I know you think your shit doesn't stink, but I will prove you wrong when I walk into the bathroom after a colonic.
Well, I would imagine that, especially as it's getting more notoriety, the whole notion of doing colonics, dude, man, you got to run with the charge.
Yeah, the last people, honestly, I get nurses, the last people to be on it, which is so, and I challenge you if you're out here listening, is a doctor or a gastroenterologist, because I see the colon in a completely different way. And most of them will be like, oh, it's not worth it, or it's going to perforate your colon, or oh, that's not healthy. And I'm like, ask them if they've ever seen one done. Yeah. Ask them if they've ever spoke to someone like me. They haven't. They just automatically discount it.
Yeah.
And then you have no solution for that person who isn't going. Well, and they run them through all these tests.
Because they're thinking like you're sticking a garden hose up there and freaking going full blast, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's like when that stuff happens, I just cut the comic off and I'm like, for real, like, let's really talk about what's happening here. But it's the literal MD doctors. Now, the other day I did get a lady come in that her doctor had said, hey, you can do the prep also for a colonoscopy, but I also say get a colonic too. And I was like, wow. They're starting to embrace it.
It's like you were the chiropractor of the 1970s and 80s until it was like, hey, you know what? They're kind of onto something. Yeah, we recommend
Right,
them.
we can all work together. I think, unfortunately, sometimes the medical professional world is like, oh, they're trying to go against us. No, and anybody who comes to me for colonics or nutrition, I always ask, what other healers, what other people you're working with, what other doctors you have? Let them know you're coming to me. Let them know that we're all, for a collective goal, trying to make you better.
Right.
I'm not... I don't try to get people off their medications. I don't try to... Are the medications sometimes the part of the problem? Yes.
Right.
But I'm not your doctor. Ideally, the work that we're doing lowers your dosage. And then if that is your desire to continue working to get off of them, then you'll do that and you'll work with your but I'm not God. I'm just, my place in your life is this.
Yeah.
And ideally you got a whole team, but people have to start looking at their body that way. Like you look at even your family unit as a couple. What do we have? We have an accountant, we have a banker, we have a doctor, we have all of this, but we don't necessarily have, and that's what I tell musicians that I work with, are athletes. You have your manager, you have all of these people. Now they'll have a personal trainer,
right,
but you don't have that person that's looking at the inside of your body and saying cause and effect. Okay, you just went on, let's just say Rich, you just went on a tour. Maybe they only have the weekends off, or maybe they only tour on the weekends, whatever it is. Okay, those times you're out on the road, you might be having this happen to your body.
Yeah.
When you're back home, here's how we need to recover. So
he
you
eats
can
so
continue.
well anyway.
Yeah, well, he's been doing it for so long that his life on the road is probably more stable than it is when he's off the road.
Right.
And that's sometimes what when I talk to them, they're like, I'm good. Especially if they're of the level that they're at and catering can give them what they want. They can have everything there.
He says, I just eat foods with color.
Exactly.
I'm like, hey, that's a good plan.
Right. But think how simple that is and how far away most people are.
Oh, gosh. All the foods are tan and beige, all fried foods.
Yeah. So I think, back to the original, the problem and the niche and the where it is, it's really about, yes, I think we can look at anything and say, gosh, I could see where this could go. But then you get down to you as the individual person and saying, will I enjoy that? And can I execute that?
Right.
And then what does it take for me to execute it based on everything else I have going on? And I think for me, that's where I've always gotten hooked up, because I'm a go person. And I believe I had kids to make me slow down and sit back and say, what are you trying to do right now with your kids, as far as, because I've had this discussion with my teenager who, gave me the rite of passage, I hate you, the other day, which is not even really how she is, but they have to say, I said it to my mom, but I run a full-time business, half part-time, and have a full-time life with it. Has to, finance me full-time.
Yeah.
But I only run it part-time so I can continue to do the things with my kids that I want to do. And which is take them to school every morning, pick them up, be available for those things, those alone times, be able to, one needs picked up because they're sick. Okay, I'm going to go over there and get them. And then I sit and look, gosh, well, when the kids aren't around, how could I, how could I really make this happen? But on the other hand, if I was really making it all happen and I didn't have my children and I was going, would I be as self-reflective and take care of myself as much? Yeah. And so I think if you have discernment and you look at the big picture, we can all say, and even you can say, gosh, there's all these things I know I want to do, because that's how you look at things. You've constantly progressed. I look at things that way also, but then I also remember what profession I'm in, and I want to still continue to have the self-care built in. I still want to continue to put myself first, because if I can't take care of Sarah, I'm not taking care of these kids, I'm not taking care of these clients, I'm not able to show up here. Yeah. I don't get sick, I don't cancel things, I didn't get the 2020 problem. I don't get any of that stuff. Now, could I? Sometimes yes, but usually when I'm feeling off, it's a direct reflection of maybe the lack of care I've given myself any given week. That's a good way to go about it. Yeah, and the same is how much I'm bothered by things. Right. If I find that I'm getting annoyed, because usually I just don't participate in the problem. Like we were talking about social media and commenting, people having negativity. I just don't participate. Yeah. I'm not triggered to, because you're storing that up. Yeah, I just don't even. Yeah, I just don't even. So, but if I find that internally I'm feeling annoyed, now you might not know I'm annoyed, but if I find I'm not handling a problem well, I make sure I just go out of town. I'll go on like a little trip to Atlanta, stay in a hotel just by myself, just kind of shut off, and I'm good. After that night, I come back and I'm good, right? Because I've done all of these. It's like a compounding effect of things I've done for myself. Right. Because we don't know what's going to happen. You don't know tomorrow that someone in your family could get sick. You don't know that, unfortunately, someone might have a car accident and you've got to help them. It's true. And that's what I tell clients. There's no perfect time to start getting healthy. So let's work through all the life. Yeah. So when the major thing, unfortunately, happens or whatever, we're prepared to work through it. And so that's kind of how I've lived my life, because I've gone through some pretty life-changing things since I've known you. We've known each other quite a while. I mean, 2010, 2011, I want to say. Yeah, I mean, I've lost houses and cars and a husband. I didn't lose it. I mean, I chose to walk away. But, right. But a lot of things that would have put most people into a depressive state or had to be on some sort of medications or something. And I really believe that I was preparing myself for those bigger things to get through them, have a greater understanding of other people, but then also stay on this kind of journey and mission. And just, I'm not anal about my food. I have no food allergies. I'm not going to go to a restaurant and be like, is this gluten-free? Is this, whatever. I don't have any food allergies, all that kind of stuff. I really just try to enjoy life. I'm just not going to have my pizza be going out on fast food pizza.
Right.
I'm going to go to a nice restaurant and eat pizza. So the problem, and I would say it's not even really a problem, it's just being patient with the seasons of life I'm in and how to relate my business to that. But I also think at times it's held me back from doing things that probably weren't that great that I thought I wanted to do, but I didn't because I couldn't execute them with everything else I had going.
Right. Too many plates spinning. That's my life right now.
Well, right. And as as a parent, you're always kind of feeling like, am I doing it right? As you're going through it. And so for me, it was kind of like, I already know I live so completely different than the way I was raised. I had the perfect parents that, we had breakfast every morning, and if we didn't have sporting events, we had dinner every night, and everything was like, and I just chose to do things a lot differently, even though I'm still a good mother, but even in that, at times I question that. So as my business goes, it's always like, am I showing enough up here or enough here? But then you got to pay your bills.
Yeah.
So for me, like when the nights I don't have the kids or on the weekends when I don't have the kids, I take clients because then I'm not feeling like I'm neglecting them, which as teenagers, they're not as much as whenever they were younger and you felt like you were going away from them.
Right.
So
I've always had a philosophy about kids that if you felt bad about how you're doing it, you're probably doing it right.
Yeah. You can't be the good guy all the time.
No.
And I think, and usually when people be like, well, Sarah, and I'd be like, hey, here's what I've realized about being a parent is your kids want your time and they want to know you love them. And if you give them those two things,
if they're comfortable talking to you about really, stuff that you wouldn't talk to your own parents about back in the day, I think you're doing a good job.
And even that's tough because
it is tough.
Now,
if they're comfortable doing it, then
now your form of information is this social media, and then for me it became too when Addie was an 8th grader and the boys were, Addie, who's your mom? And so then they'd follow me on social, like, Mom, can you block that kid on social media? Now it's like this whole other thing as to where I'm not even trying to be that mom. I'm just trying to tell them what I do, Addie.
Well, I'm looking up your social. I do this from time to time on the podcast. I'll in real time look at people's social media.
Oh, Sarah Moore Health.
Sarah Moore Health
Sarah
on
with
Instagram.
An H. Sarah with an H.
3,200 followers. Nice.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Are you
say not a lot?
No, I mean, I would say I think I'm at a decent amount, but for as long as I've done it, and I've never. I'm just organic with it. I should have more of a rhythm and a method. I do have a younger than me girl that does my pictures and helps make sure, because I would not pose for pictures on my own. Like, so she makes sure I look good. And
do you kind of memorize the poses after a while? And somebody's taking a very casual picture. Hey,
here's what she does. She just snap. She's like, Sarah, play with your hair. Sarah, walk this way, walk this way. So if I told you how each of those pictures went down, it'd be comical because there is no posing. There is, I bring a bunch of outfits and she says, okay, let's try this or this. I put it on and say, I feel silly. Then we'll put something funny. I'll look up something. Or now that I'm single, guys think they just need to send you their anatomy. I'll be like, oh my God, look at this picture. And I start laughing. Then she takes the pictures of me in like a natural, real smirk or laugh or me just walking. So those ones where I'm like looking behind it's really, she's like, walk and just look at me. And I walk and I just go. And then the picture comes.
Yeah, and it's like, even getting into that aspect of it, I mean, I've been married, we're going on 22 years the Friday, married. And it's like Courtney and I go, can you imagine having to be single in this day and age?
I can tell you about it.
Oh, I know you can, but I don't want to imagine it. It's one of those things, it's like, oh my
and it's
gosh,
like,
the crap you got to deal with.
Yeah, and I take it as a compliment when someone's like, oh, you look like your pictures. That's the goal. Like, of course, I wear more makeup.
But I mean, the things that guys send you for crying out loud.
Well, and I'm the best person to send.
Do they think that's a turn on for crying out loud?
They do. No, they're doing it to turn themselves on. And that's why, in the space that I am, and then, you bring in this whole other topic, sexual energy that goes on with that. And that's what's coming across to people. Because I stay, I wear fitted stuff, but I'm fully clothed in my pictures. There's not a bikini picture. There's not a butt shot. There's not any of that stuff.
Right.
But the energy of health and wellness can be translated as sexual energy also, and that person doesn't realize it. So when I'm speaking and I'm doing these things and my blue eyes are coming out or whatever, I'll get, Sarah, I had dreams about you. And then a guy I don't even know, and he's not coming at me in a dirty, disrespectful way.
Yeah.
But here's how I look at it. If I'm a guy and I'm experiencing this, and I'm a good guy, I'm not like, we're not talking about, yes, there's dirty, nasty guys. And they say, Sarah, oh my gosh, it was the weirdest thing. I had a dream about you. I feel even weird telling you. And I will say, hey, you're welcome to talk to me about it, because I know it's probably going to be a sexual dream.
Right.
And I'll say, but here's my rules. You cannot expect me to have the same feelings back or have ever saw you this way, right? And if I was in a relationship, I'm not going to ask, like, we're not going to talk about it, right?
Right.
But it's hard to find safe spaces to talk about things in that kind of a world. Same with poop, same with all of that stuff. And so men, when they're in the office, they'll talk about that stuff. They might talk about their libido or their sex life with their spouse because it's a safe place. I'm a woman, but I'm not a woman. They're really sharing. You know what I mean? So
you're like one of the guys.
Yes, but I am a woman, so I can still give that perspective, but also a logical, healthy conversation about it.
Sure.
And because sexual energy is so important, and a lot of men need more sex, and it's a tough conversation, and blah, 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 blah. And it's important for your health overall to be sexually active in a positive way.
Right.
So they'll usually go on with the description of the whole the whole dream, and I'm even amazed what I did in the dream, you know? Like, I'm like, wow, I was really, you know, and
I did what?
And so, you know,
Boy,
they'll
I'm
tell
like
it to me, and I'm like, wow, you know, that's fascinating. And then if I'm in this sassy Sarah mode, I might be like, well, was it good? And they're like, oh, it was amazing. I'm like, well, it was me. Your dream was real, you know.
I didn't realize I was a gymnast.
Right. Or like, I went there first. Like, that's not usually where I start, you know, or anything. But it's for me that, like, I don't mind that kind of conversation. Like I said, if I'm in a relationship or whatever, I would not ever allow that, just because I don't think that's fair for the person I'm with. I mean, I would always tell, if I'm in a serious dating situation, hey, I'm about, like, here, look at my DMs and read it, see how I responded. Right. Because my life's not changing. You just have to trust that I'm not allowing that.
How often do you get, like, those types of messages?
Not a whole bunch. I mean, I do get more so, like, again, everybody's really still respectful, although I know where they're going. Right. I just don't continue to walk them there.
Is the health. Sarah Moore health.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I was attracting NFL players. I don't even know why. They were just finding me in my DMs, and I'd be like, do you realize you just commented on you just DM'd me about a video where I'm talking about poop?
Yeah.
And they'll just say, I didn't even listen. I muted it and just looked at your eyes.
Cool.
At least you're honest. But that's, again, for me, like, oh, that's flattering, great, whatever, like, cool. But it shows you the power of what that is, because we are missing that actual real interaction. If you think about when you met your wife, there wasn't a whole send me a bunch of pictures, let me look up your profile before you come, and let me see what you did. You had to meet each other. You had to see if your energy merged. You might, of course,
it was at first sight for us.
Right. You had to be, one, sexually attracted and say, I find him attractive. But then after that, it had to go to be so much more. And
she saw me and knew she was going to marry me. That's what she says.
But nowadays,
and I saw a big tuft of red hair and the blue eyes, and I was like, she's a fox.
Yeah.
And funny thing is, we knew each other when we were 7 and 8 years old.
But you didn't know you did?
We knew of each other.
Oh, okay. But you weren't,
Our brothers were in Boy Scouts together, and my father, her father was my father's client, and we just kind of knew of each other. It wasn't until she graduated high school, I believe, and that's when I met her again, and we dated. We had a false start dating, and then we got back around to it when we were 21, 22.
Yeah, and I think the point of all of this, too, now, what I'm talking about and where we're going, is that I've realized it also comes down to a healthy-minded and positive person puts off a certain amount of energy that's just attractive. Right. And I know they're not really attracted to me. They don't know me. Right. But yes, they have a sexual energy attraction because of just the energy I put out, which is positive, and I'm just happy and whatever. And most people don't know how to, like, discern and translate that. Right. And so that's why I've met men that have been like, I've met the most attractive women, but once I was with them, I couldn't be sexual, or I couldn't be whatever, because
their personality comes through.
Well, yeah, the way they could get themselves to look on social media doesn't translate to them actually being a beautiful person.
That's where you're talking about authenticity and fakery. I got it.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Highlight reel.
Yeah, do we need to wrap up in some way so I can go? Or do
sure, we can do that.
Or do we really even get to the point?
Dude, you need your own podcast.
You know, I had one set up, and I did it. There's a couple seasons out. Yeah. And then I started to do it again because I wanted to do it from a video format, like, because I was just doing, but my other ones were just audio, you know? And someone was willing to help me that didn't follow through on that. So now I'm trying to go back to the table because I'm not.
Let's talk.
Where again, it comes down to that investment and the time and all the stuff that involves. And I'm about simplicity about stuff too, but the conversations I have with clients, even just in my lobby's like a living room. My lobby's kind of like this.
Yeah.
Where I even have guy buddies that are like, Sarah, can I just come over and chill out in your, like, just for my mental health? Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm seeing clients. I don't pay attention to them, but it's just a relaxing space and a lot of people talk. And so for me, it's about like having these kind of conversations. Maybe we have a cocktail while we're doing it. I don't know. Maybe you're doing something. Yeah, totally. Because as you can see, no things are usually off limits for me talking about.
And that's the beautiful thing about you doing a podcast is that you're not afraid to go in those areas. And that's fine.
But I completely see everyone's side. I don't have to agree, but I think a healthy-minded person too, we can have these. It's like listening to Rogan's podcast, right? He's not going to, everybody didn't agree with him on there, but he tries to see the whole side. And I think that's also what's missing in this world of us trying to come together, but everybody's so separate. It's okay that I don't agree with everything you do in your life.
Sister, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, and so but that's always been my approach, even in health, and I think that's why I have a retention of clients. I think that's why people welcome to come to me, because it's like, and I also don't share so much of how I personally live on social media, so you don't believe that I think you have to live like me.
Right.
Which helps.
I don't know. I think that you're primed for a podcast.
Yeah, I would love. I'm trying to do more talking, more.
Yeah.
I love
because I mean you could do public speaking, you could do the whole trifecta.
Now putting my phone in front of me and talking out anywhere, I don't enjoy that. Like you'll see some of them I do them in my office. I used to do in my car because it felt safer. But get me on a stage or do something like this. I don't. I do this. I've been on News Channel. Yeah, I mean I've been on News Channel 2 8 times and it's live.
Yeah,
and that would kill people to do a 3-4 minute segment live just off the cuff.
I think you just need to do your own thing once again and own it and get to 500 episodes and just keep going with it.
Yep.
So, well, with that being said, I know you're short on time. People can find and follow you by going to sarahmoorhealth.com.
Sarah with an H.
And everything's there for them to find, social media otherwise.
Yeah, everything is the same too. Sarah Moore Health on Facebook, Sarah Moore Health on Instagram. Like I said, Sarah with an H, Moore with a double O. Some people still think it's More. I am More. And the name of my podcast is More Than You Can Handle. What's the name of it?
Right.
My last name. So.
I don't know. I think we should work on the name that's like, we're not full of crap or something.
Yeah, I don't want to do the poop angle though. Everybody says that.
That's your lead.
I know, but everybody's like shitty stories, right? So one of my friend Jason said something like, "You need to let's get shitty." Like call it let's get shitty. My mom would probably be like, "I don't know that you'd want a cuss word in your title." Mom.
Well, you could always just bleep it out or whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't bleep it out.
No, you just leave it up there.
Yeah, I mean, look at how many.
You say crap. I mean, you always want to leave it wide open for people to get in there.
Well, I kind of feel like if the audience I'm targeting, if they care that I really said shitty, then they probably won't like the rest of the podcast either.
The Vaynerchuk rule. Yeah, he doesn't care. Well, thanks for being on.
No, thank you for having me.
I think in a couple of months we'll have you back. This is a great conversation. Yeah. I've learned a lot. I really have. But, with that being said, of course, guys, please follow along. whatsyourproblempodcast.com. Again, we're putting it out there for those of you who are moving to Tennessee, you're in the business space, you're a professional. That's what we want this podcast to be. So make sure you tell your friends about it. We want to try and shoot up the charts with all the different listens and all that fun stuff. And whatsyourproblempodcast.com. Sarah Moore, long time overdue.
Thank you so much. Yes, I enjoyed
fulfilling
this.
Conversation. Thanks for coming.
Should have had more time.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye.